Let's get right into it. Some common anti-vegan arguments, nutrition arguments. So let's start with the easy one. B12. No, plants do not contain B12, at least not in any meaningful amounts. You may have heard claims that certain mushrooms, duckweed, do actually contain active B12, but we do not have nearly enough evidence to show this to be true, to show that eating these foods can actually raise or maintain proper B12 levels. You can check out my video here on natural vegan B12 sources for a more detailed breakdown on that. For all intents and purposes, plants do not contain B12, so if you are vegan, you have to supplement. The good news is B12 supplements are cheap, they are readily available, you will find them in pretty much any grocery store, and they are highly effective and safe. I know there are anti-vegans claiming actually you can't absorb B12 from supplements. They are lying, or they haven't read a shred of the evidence, because the evidence is clear that yes, you can. B12 supplements are incredibly effective at raising B12 levels. The vast majority of people have no trouble absorbing synthetic B12 orally, just with, a little chewable tablet, as documented over and over and over again in the scientific literature, including for vegans. There is a clear difference in B12 status between vegans who don't supplement and vegans who do. This is from a large analysis and review of 17 studies, by the way. Another issue anti-vegans have, and some vegans too, is that supplementation of any kind, including B12, is not natural. First, that is a fallacy. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's good or bad. And second, the implication is that meat is natural. Is it? Is this natural? Because this is where 99.9% of meat, milk, cheese, and eggs come from. Is animal feed containing a bunch of synthetic vitamins and minerals, often including B12, natural? Of course not, but meat eaters can pretend that it is natural because they're only seeing the meat. They're only seeing the finished product. No one really cares whether their food is natural or not. Protein. This one shocked me, not because it's protein. We hear a lot of anti-vegan protein stuff. I talk about protein a lot on this channel and encourage vegans to eat more protein and to eat their beans. I have a whole video on that if you're interested. But I found several articles published this year talking about incomplete proteins and protein combining, like this one, supposedly written by a dietitian. While complete proteins contain all 9 essential amino acids, incomplete proteins only contain a few, and they give some examples here: nuts, seeds, certain whole grains, and legumes. So most plant foods, right? Implying that getting enough essential amino acids on a vegan diet is really hard unless you combine certain foods for every meal. So like beans and rice. Beans are high in some aminos, rice is high in others. The problem here, actually there are several problems here, but first, incomplete protein does not mean that a food does not contain any of one or more essential amino acids. It just means that it contains less of one or more. And you can verify this yourself by checking the amino acid profile for any plant foods, right? 1 ounce of almonds, all 9, 1 ounce of cashews, all 9, even a half cup of brown rice, all 9. Speaking of rice, how exactly does it improve the amino acid profile if you include it with beans? Like, how does it make the beans better? It's delicious, yes, but rice has very little overall protein, so of course it's going to have very little of any amino acid. On the other hand, all of the common beans, pinto beans, black beans, great northern beans, garbanzo beans, have way more total protein and way more, or the same amount, of every essential amino acid. Even methionine. You've probably heard rice has more methionine, that's why you include it with beans. No, it doesn't. In fact, in all of these examples, the amino acid profile would be improved by nixing the rice and increasing the proportion of legumes. So if you're really worried about getting complete protein at every meal, just eat beans, just eat peanut butter, no bread, no rice. Now, of course, we don't actually have to worry about protein combining. Our body has an amino acid pool that it draws from, and this pool does not empty between meals. So enjoy your rice and beans as I do, or even like an all rice meal if you want, as long as that's not a regular thing. It's protein intake over time that matters. There may be some benefit to timing, like eating a lot of protein soon after resistance training, spreading protein throughout the day, but honestly, the evidence on these different eating patterns is pretty weak. Just eat your beans. But again, this one shocked me, like protein combining plant foods. This was debunked decades ago. So to see it alive and well in 2025? What is happening? Vegans are all anemic because they can't get enough iron, because all of the iron in plants is garbage. It can't be absorbed. Like, just look at them. They're so pale, clearly anemic. Okay, so maybe most anti-vegan arguments about iron aren't that ridiculous, but the pale thing, like the number of times I have heard that, you're pale, you must be anemic. Guys, you can't look at someone and tell if they're anemic. Sometimes we just don't go outside. Sorry. But the other stuff about iron is partially true, kind of. It's complicated. So essentially there's two types of iron, heme iron and non-heme iron. Heme iron is in animal products, mostly. Non-heme iron is in plants. That's pretty simplistic, but like that's the gist of it. The potential issue here is that heme iron is more bioavailable. We absorb more of it than non-heme iron. That's because the path to absorbability for heme iron is more efficient. It's not affected by absorption inhibitors like non-heme iron is, and the foods that contain these inhibitors are the same foods that contain non-heme iron. You see the problem. Basically, we get less iron from plant foods than we do from animal products. So, like, of course, we're all anemic. First, most studies on vegans and anemia aren't actually looking at anemia. So there's a difference between anemia and iron deficiency. Anemia means your body is struggling to carry oxygen throughout your blood, either because your red blood cells aren't healthy, maybe they're too large, or because there just aren't enough of them, or both. Anemia can be caused by a few different things like B12, but most often it is caused by iron deficiency, which is why the two are often equated. But really what we're talking about is iron deficiency anemia. Point is, most of the studies on vegans are not checking for CBC. They're not checking for red blood cell count, which is what you want to look at when you're looking for anemia. What they're looking at is ferritin, which is a protein that stores iron. So what they're actually checking is iron status. Okay, who cares? Like, iron deficiency is still bad, even if you technically don't have anemia. But ferritin levels don't necessarily tell us that our iron status is poor, because ferritin levels increase in the presence of inflammation. And what diet reduces inflammation and maybe as a result reduces ferritin levels? A vegan one. So if vegans have lower ferritin levels than omnivores, maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe that's just because our diet causes less chronic inflammation. And we do see this supported in the literature. First, this 2024 study found that vegans did indeed have low ferritin levels, but they were not at higher risk for anemia. And then this really cool one, this 2021 study, they actually measured both ferritin and inflammation and found iron deficiency was not more common in most vegans once participants with inflammation were excluded. The only vegans still at risk were menstruating women. Another issue, or really a positive, is that our body tightly controls iron uptake. When iron stores are good, we absorb less. When they are poor, we absorb more. And really cool, when we eat only non-heme iron for an extended period of time, our bodies become better at absorbing non-heme iron. So we have this study from 2015 found that women who ate a high phytate diet for 8 weeks did indeed absorb way more non-heme iron. And then this small one from 2025, similar thing. The vegan men absorbed more non-heme iron from a 150 gram pistachio meal than the omnivorous men. All of this is probably why the studies that actually do check for anemia in vegans find no increased risk. I probably could have led with that, I guess, but all of this is very interesting to me, as you can maybe tell. My videos are too long, I'm sorry. I need an actual editor, but then they'll take everything out and I won't like it and I'll fire them. All this is not to say iron is never a concern. I mentioned menstruating women earlier. Obviously, the more blood you lose, the more iron you're going to lose, the more iron you need to get in your diet. And this is a concern for every woman, not just vegans. Iron deficiency in menstruating women, particularly those who bleed a lot, is very common. And the answer clearly is not to consume more meat. As this recent review points out, the link between red meat and colorectal cancer might be due to heme iron. This may explain the risk of colon cancer being higher when consuming beef, as this food has a higher heme iron intake compared to other types of red meat. It might play a role in other cancers too, and we don't see any association like this with non-heme iron. In fact, we see the opposite, because the foods containing non-heme iron plants are often linked to decreased risk of cancer. This could be due to lack of heme iron. It could be due to the fiber, the phytochemicals, the iron absorption inhibitors, the phytic acid. That's right, those might actually be good for us. Or it could be all of these things. Point is, everything points to all of us getting our iron, or at least the vast majority of our iron, from non-heme plant foods, not heme animal products. And for many of us, this is so easy to do. Just eat a balanced plant-based diet, including legumes, of course, and you'll get enough. It's also a good idea, especially if you do menstruate, to include vitamin C with your iron-rich meals. Vitamin C significantly improves absorption of non-heme iron. And if you bleed heavily, especially if you have symptoms of iron deficiency like fatigue, restless leg syndrome, see your doctor and get checked for iron deficiency. Don't just start taking iron because you think you're deficient. Unlike B12, iron is not safe at higher doses. It's really not something you just want to take. Speaking of, I probably should stop taking iron. I've been taking iron in a multi for years because I'm one of the lucky heavy bleeders. But as I talked about in my last video, I'm no longer part of the club thanks to my IUDs. So yeah. All right, that was a lot, so let's switch to a little palate cleanser, omega-3 fatty acids. Vegans are all depressed because they don't eat fish, right? Something like that. First, the evidence on veganism and depression is really inconsistent. Sometimes it shows there is a link, an increased risk, sometimes a decreased risk, sometimes no link at all. And even if veganism were linked to depression, either positively or negatively, it doesn't mean it's the diet. It could be the other way around. It could just be that depressed people are more or less likely to end up vegan. But let's talk about fish, specifically omega-3s, because that's really what we're interested in, the brain-boosting fats. So there are short and long chain fatty acid. The short, ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, is super easy for vegans to get because all of the best sources are plant foods. You've got your walnuts and your flaxseed, your chia seed, your hemp seed, your canola oil. Now the long chain, EPA and DHA, these are primarily found in fish. Actually first in algae, which the fish eat. Now our bodies do convert ALA to EPA and then to DHA, but that final conversion is pretty poor. Probably why studies find lower DHA blood levels in vegans than fish eaters. We can improve this either by eating more ALA or taking a vegan algae-based DHA supplement, but it's not clear if that's necessary. While many studies have shown an inverse correlation between DHA consumption and or DHA levels and various conditions, diseases, the association is pretty weak and clinical trials have been really underwhelming. That said, most of these studies have been conducted on omnivores. Again, omnivores tend to have higher DHA levels than vegans. Maybe studies on vegans specifically would have more striking results. I really don't know, but what I do know is dietitian Jack Norris from veganhealth.org cautiously recommends either consuming more ALA or taking a DHA supplement. So that's what I personally do. I take a supplement. Point is, eat your ALA foods, whether you are vegan or not. They are very important. DHA, maybe, but certainly not from fish. Not because they're full of mercury. Salmon is one of the best sources for DHA, very low in mercury, but because they're fish, they're living things, they feel things. And I don't know, to kill creatures, many creatures in this case, because fish are small, because it might benefit us slightly, that seems bad, you know? If the roles were reversed, another creature eating me because maybe possibly you help us recover better from resistance training or something, like I don't think I would like that. Vegans don't eat dairy, so of course their bones are brittle as hell, and I can't help but think of one of my favorite song titles, Pale Vegan Hip Pain by Mogwai. The backstory is his wife went to the doctor for help with some hip pain, and they saw in his notes he wrote Pale Vegan Hip Pain. Anyway, lots of plant foods have calcium. Many plant milks are fortified with it. Tofu is often set with it, but you have to actually eat these foods. And some vegans do not, which is why studies, not all, but pretty much all of the big ones, do find higher fracture rates in vegans when compared to omnivores. Now, importantly, when calcium intake is accounted for, this association goes away. In other words, the vegans who are consuming enough calcium are not at risk. There is one exception to this. This 2020 Epic Oxford study still found a link even when controlling for calcium intake. I think I did a video on this when it came out. Veganhealth.org, of course, has a very detailed breakdown where he concludes it could be vitamin A. Vitamin A is abundant in plants, but again, like calcium, you have to eat those foods, right? If you don't like orange fruits and vegetables, if you don't like dark leafy greens, you might not get enough. And vitamin A, like many nutrients, is important for bone health. It could also be zinc, which brings me to the nutrient I think we really should be talking about. I mean, the others are important too, of course, but you rarely hear about zinc. I have an entire video on zinc I published just a month or two ago. Basically, many of us might not get enough without supplementation. Why? Fucking beans. I'm sorry to curse. I curse a lot. I don't know why I'm apologizing now, but it's always beans. It's not just protein. Legumes are great sources of zinc. So if you are not eating them and you're not taking any sort of zinc supplement or a multi containing zinc, there's a good chance you're not getting enough. Please, please, please eat your beans. None of the 5 nutritional concerns I talked about, or I guess 6, including zinc, make veganism unhealthy, not by a long shot. The truth is, vegan does not equate to health, right? It just means no animal products. On any diet, whether it includes animal products or not, we have to be wary, we have to be more concerned with certain nutrients. Many omnivores in well-off countries like the US are deficient in numerous nutrients that vegans don't have to worry about, like fiber. It's virtually impossible not to get enough fiber, plenty of fiber, on a vegan diet. Yet omnivores really struggle with this. So take your B12, eat your beans for protein, for zinc, for iron as well. Everyone is encouraged to do this, by the way, not just vegans. Beans are so special. Eat your ALA foods, again, everyone, not just vegans. A fortified calcium drink is probably a good idea. Resistance training, I didn't really talk about that, but like if you really care about bone health, like that might be the most important thing. Like all of us, not just vegans, all of us need to resistance train at least once a week. And finally, for more specific guidelines and so much detailed information, it's just the best source for vegan nutrition, veganhealth.org. I've already mentioned it so many times. Jack Norris has done so much for the vegan community. His B12 article alone, I think, has done so much to help people start supplementing, and we see that in the research now. It is much less of a problem than it was a couple decades ago. I have no doubt he has saved so many vegans from nerve damage with just that article alone. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really do hope you enjoyed this. Please do like and subscribe and hype if I have that on my channel. It's cool, I guess. I feel like I'm an older person who just discovered the word hype and like I'm using it wrong. It just feels weird to say. Anyway, thank you so much to all of the people who support my channel monetarily here on YouTube, my members, and also at Patreon, patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. And I do post 2 exclusive videos a month for tier 2 and up members and patrons. I do a vlog, and then I also do a controversial towards the end of the month. And that's it for me. Thanks again, guys. New video soon. Y'all thought I forgot about the Christmas butt plugs, didn't you? No. Well, I did actually last year, because I think I got them the year before. I did totally forget. But here they are. They're back. You can see them better now, so you can tell they're Christmas trees. When I had them in the other recording space in the background. Yeah. Yeah. Also have my poinsettia. I can never remember how you say it. The little Lego one. My brother got this for Christmas for me last year. It has actually been on the floor for about 12 months. It fell on the floor and broke, and I said, well, that's where it's gonna lie until next Christmas. And you know what? I stuck with that promise. I just fixed it. It actually wasn't hard at all because it's Lego, so like most of it held together. It is very, very dusty. That's kind of disgusting, but man, I love these things. They're so expensive, but I freaking love the like botanical, whatever they call it, collection of all the Lego flowers. I see them at Kroger. Oh my God, I want them all. Hint, 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 brother. He doesn't watch my stuff. Another cringe cup. This one isn't too cringe. I actually like this. Slay llama slay. Come on. But my other one that says low-key thriving. Oh. I needed more big mugs and I went to Goodwill looking for the worst, cringiest ones. And that one, oh, there was a better one. It was this hideous, like pink with a like metallic gold handle. And it had like someone riding on a horse. And it said something like, bitch, in my bitch era. It didn't say that. I can't remember what it was, but oh. It was disgusting. I had to have it. But because of the damn handle, you can't put it in the dishwasher. But man, I need it. Like, I should have got it anyway. I have one that says not today. That's pretty cringe. But low-key thriving. Oh, it hurts. It hurts to say.